No, see?
Yeah. Perfect.
So can you wave? Thank you.
Aí, moleque, traz a galera pra jogar por aqui embaixo. Escuta sobre o berimbau, tá chorando, tá bonito. Vai, moleque, chega aí, fecha a roda, fecha a roda.
Okay, did you all hear that?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah? So, the sounds you were listening to are made by this instrument here, the berimbau. So, if you guys didn't know what a berimbau was and you didn't Google as I asked you, now
I didn't.
you know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks. John. So, the first time I saw a berimbau, I was 8 years old, and I was immediately fascinated by it. It was on the corner in my house, and I remember looking at it and thinking, what is that? And then my uncle arrived, and he came over to explain it to me. It was really nice because he was a master of capoeira himself, and he came over and he explained it to me. So before we understand what the berimbau is, I'm gonna just outline what I'm gonna be talking about, which is what the berimbau is, the link it has with capoeira and what capoeira is, and what it means to Brazil and to Brazilians, right? So if you look at your pictures, you already know that a berimbau is a musical instrument, right? And it's made of several parts. So you have the names in Portuguese here, and I'm gonna be saying the names in English. So the verga is the base of the berimbau, and it's the how it's held, right, and sustained, and it's a wooden bowl, right? Then you have the arame, which is a steel string, and that is responsible for making the sound. And then there is the dobrão, which is a stone that the capoeirista, the person who's playing it, will hold just behind the string, and that, along with the stick, is what makes the sound. And depending on where he places the stone on the string, it changes the tunes. So some are higher pitched and some are lower pitched, right? And the cabaça is a hollowed out vessel that's attached to the bottom of the pole.
So like a gourd.
Yeah, like a gourd. Thank you. So, no worries. So, according to Eric Gomm, which is an author who wrote an article in 2010 called The Berimbau, the Soul of Brazilian Music, he says that pretty much every Brazilian will recognize that instrument. So, if you just say berimbau, any Brazilian will know what that is about. And why is it inseparable from capoeira? I believe do you know what capoeira is? It's the martial arts, the Brazilian martial arts, and it's a mix between dancing and fighting. And that's what you saw in the video, right? Mm-hmm. And why is it dancing and fighting, right? There is such a beautiful and yet sad story behind it. What happens is, back in Brazil in colonial times, there were slaves, right? The slaves were really oppressed, and they suffered a lot under the lords, like the landlords. They owned the farms and they made them slaves, and they had no way of fighting back. So they wanted to run away from the farms. They wanted to escape, but they didn't have arms, they didn't have weapons, they didn't have any way to fight back. So what did they do? They came up with this dance fight as a way to defend themselves. So when they escaped, they started forming these communities. But when the guys,
The catchers.
catchers,
Like the-
The landlords?
the landlords had helpers, and those helpers, like, they were the ones who carried the guns, right? And they captured the slaves back. So what happened was, when they went into these communities to capture them back, they fought back. How? Using capoeira. And how? The berimbau, how is it all connected? Is the berimbau makes capoeira happen. Without berimbau, there is no capoeira happening because of the music, right? So that is a little bit of capoeira and a little bit of the martial arts. It eventually became illegal practice in Brazil between the 1850s and up until the 1940s because of that, because it was seen as a weapon for people to defend themselves. So they made it illegal because it was a fight between classes and stuff. So in 1940, there was a capoeira master called Mestre Bimba, and he was prominent and essential in making capoeira be recognized as a sport and actually as a cultural asset. So up to this day, after the 1940s, Mestre Bimba and other capoeiristas, other practitioners, they established capoeira as a national sport, and today it's called a intangible asset, like a cultural intangible asset. Intangible cultural asset? Okay. So the berimbau is one of the symbols of resistance because it gives the tunes, it gives the sounds to capoeira, and capoeira has stood throughout time as a symbol of resistance, right? So if you think about Brazilian history, as with lots of other countries, I'm pretty sure in America as well, there are so many beautiful stories, but there are sad stories too. And Brazil has been built on a culture of oppression. Brazil has been built on a culture of exploitation and a lot of suffering. However, the berimbau and the capoeira, they stand throughout history as a symbol of resistance and perseverance. And it adds the sweet tones and sweet tunes to the music of life. And it's a very loyal representation of the way Brazilians deal with their own problems, because we smile and we dance our problems away. Thank you.
All right.